I've seen this question many times. It's been presented to us. Do the foods we eat affect us on a spiritual level? That's the bottom line question. The other thing, how does it affect us on a spiritual level? What about supplements? Are they good for us? How do those affect us on the spiritual level? And then, of course, lastly, if I am working toward developing my abilities, whether it be for healing, mediumship, etc., how does it affect me to be able to develop those abilities?
Food. Diet. Okay.
Foods, diet. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What you eat. What you consume.
Let's start. I'll start with an example of myself, right?
Okay.
If you remember, you talked me into delving deeper into the potential of these abilities, because
yes.
in the past I wasn't really interested in going down that route.
Correct.
But once I said, okay, I'm going to give it a shot just to keep your mouth shut, I said, I want to talk to somebody though that could at least confirm for me that this is real. Mm-hmm. Remember that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so we went to a psychic. That's what she called herself, by the way.
Yes, she labeled herself as a psychic.
Right. And I remember when I met with her initially, she offered me coffee. She said, I'm going to get some coffee. Do you want some? And I told her, oh, no. I don't drink coffee. And she said, yes, I shouldn't drink it myself, because it actually affects your ability to receive as a psychic. And that's when I of course, I didn't know that at the time. I just didn't drink coffee. You know, that's not something I ever wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So then I sat there and I started wondering, if she knows it affects her abilities, why does she do it? You know, and it's funny, because the moment I asked that question in my head, she answered. She said, well, I drink coffee because I just love coffee. I know I shouldn't drink it, but, you know, I enjoy it every now and again. And that was how that went. Bottom line is, it's apparent that coffee will lower your frequency.
Or is it the caffeine in the coffee?
The caffeine, right.
Okay.
The caffeine in the coffee will lower your frequency. So it does affect you in a negative way. Mm-hmm. Now, I know that people tell you that there are health benefits to coffee.
Yes.
But if you listen to people, there are health benefits to everything.
Indeed.
Just like how everything can cause cancer.
Or everything can cause some kind of a challenge in the body. Right.
Right? So here's coffee. It has all these health challenges.
Health benefits.
Yeah, health benefits. But there's also somebody out there, you could probably see a long list of all the non-beneficial things that coffee creates.
Yes.
So it's up to you to go along with the one you prefer, right? Do you want challenges or do you want the benefits? Supposedly, in either case.
And if you like the taste of coffee, you can always find an alternative, which I found one called Caffrey, that, because I know what coffee tastes like, it tastes just like coffee. But it's made out of roasted roots like dandelion and chicory and some other roots. So it's delicious, but there's no caffeine. There's nothing that is non-beneficial there because it's all natural.
By the way, we don't drink it here as a drink.
No.
My wife actually takes it and she makes
I make ice cream.
Ice cream with it. Because we don't drink coffee.
And I put it in recipes where, like, you make chocolate cake and you use that coffee essence to elevate the flavor of the chocolate. So that's what I do with it.
No, you're going off topic.
Off topic there, but hey, so fun tips for you. Okay.
Now, I also remember reading a book written about Van Praagh.
Yes.
Actually, Van Praagh wrote the book. And this is when I was beginning to do research on psychics and see what this ability was all about. Mm-hmm. And in that book, I still remember this, he wrote that one of the things he was told he should avoid eating was beef.
Oh, how come?
Very specific. He didn't talk about, I don't remember him writing about chicken or anything like that, but beef. Mm-hmm. Because it was so heavy and because of the way the animals were killed, you know.
Oh.
Fear, all that stays in the tissue.
Anguish, anxiety.
Exactly. That's all in that meat that you eat. Mm-hmm. So he stressed in there that if you want to develop your psychic abilities, you should avoid eating beef. I remember that. And there were some other things, but that one stood out for me. I don't know why. Because I didn't eat beef at that time, but
right.
It stood out for me. The bottom line is, later on, as I got closer to being open to the abilities that I have, I remember one time Saint Germain came to me and told me, okay, these are the things that you should stay away from. You remember when you met me initially, I mean, we were not close, but when you initially met me, I didn't eat any meat.
No meat.
Right.
You didn't consume anything with caffeine. You didn't consume sweets, and you avoided MSG. So, and definitely you avoided pork. Anything pork that could have been in food.
Right. And again, I didn't do that because I was watching my diet. Just to let you know, you probably never realized it. Maybe you thought I was watching my diet.
No, I didn't. I was told straight ahead. He's not supposed to eat these things.
Oh, okay.
One of your good friends told me that. Don't give him that. Why? He's not supposed to eat that. It's really bad for him.
Right. It was just something that I didn't feel comfortable eating. You know, I didn't like the smell of chicken. I didn't like the smell of anything besides seafood. The seafood I could handle, but the other stuff, I just wasn't interested at all. They didn't smell right. They didn't look right. So it just didn't buy. I remember every now and again I would try a piece of beef and I would spit it out immediately. And just didn't like it.
Right.
Of course, it's changed now. Like you said, in take one of this video, you know, we went on appointments, and once I started doing appointments with you, and people always fed us.
Yes, they did.
And we don't refuse what we're offered. You know, that's the teaching itself. The teaching teaches us that you don't refuse when you're offered something.
You don't want to offend anyone in their culture either.
Well, it's more like I don't want to create any karma. That's what I was taught by Elmore. That's what I go by. So then you accept it.
Right.
So then all of a sudden you find yourself eating. Oh, it's funny because I just got the thought. It's like Jesus, when Jesus went with the Gentiles and they fed him seafood, but it's like that the crawfish and stuff, that the things that
the ones that were considered unclean.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Just like the pork was considered unclean.
And he ate it anyway. And so that's what we're doing. So see, I don't feel guilty about that.
Yeah, but he was Jesus. He probably transmuted it.
Of course he did.
You weren't transmuting the stuff yet.
I wasn't interested in that at that time. I was eating that sucker like that. So anyway, but I've just been told that that's what it's like, you know. It's showing respect for somebody's culture, like you said. Showing, I don't know, the thought just came.
Oh, okay.
Showing respect for somebody's culture, you know, showing appreciation for the effort they put in to prepare things for you.
Right.
Whatever it is. It doesn't have to be food. It could be a gift. Somebody could have spent time painting a picture for you, or just writing a card. So you show appreciation for that.
We had people who just prepared drinks, like the Cuban coffee we had at one person's house, and then we had the masala tea at someone else's house.
Right, but the video is not about what we had. It's
about how it affects you,
exactly.
though.
So let's get back to that part.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
So, yes, we had the tea, all right? The masala tea, which is loaded with caffeine, and then the Cuban coffee, which is super loaded. That thing is like tar, man. That's amazing. So, why do we bring those up? Or why do I bring those up? Because it was also explained to me that there are certain substances that should be avoided. And of course, I didn't consume any of them, but when the assistant masters are teaching you, they make sure everything is covered, right?
Right.
Whether or not you're involved with it doesn't matter.
Why should you avoid them?
Well, first let me get to what they are.
Oh, okay.
All right. So, Saint Germain mentioned caffeine, of course. All right. He mentioned the drug entity. They all have entities attached to them, by the way, and that's
non-beneficial entities.
Non-beneficial entities, right? They're attached to them. So, okay. So the drug entity. So drugs, right?
Drugs.
The type of drug. Even prescription drugs, by the way.
Right.
So when we say drugs, I'm not just talking about cocaine and whatever else is out there.
Any of the street drugs, they're called.
Okay, street drugs. It's not just those. Also,
over the counter.
Drugs that are prescribed, right? Because most of them also lower your frequency. So especially like morphine and those things, really, Vicodin.
Yes.
All right, those things lower your frequency really badly. So you might be thinking, well, no, I have a prescription for this. But notice that once you take it, all of a sudden you feel out of sorts because your frequency just got lowered. The entity for that drug just got attached to you. Okay, so we're talking about drugs, alcohol, right? Any type of alcohol, doesn't matter what it is. Okay, and somebody might say, well, this only has 3% alcohol. Well, what does it have again?
Alcohol.
Exactly. Right? Have you ever seen? We talked about this years ago. started introducing these non-alcoholic drinks,
Yes.
and then you looked at it, and what was on there?
There still had 1 or 2% alcohol in there.
Exactly. So they call it non-alcoholic, but it still had 1 or 2% alcohol. What does it have?
Alcohol.
Exactly. You're supposed to avoid alcohol completely. Some people say, but then I only drink wine, 1 glass, once a week. And it's good for my heart.
Yes, they always
Studies
qualify
about it, right?
it. It's always
Exactly.
good for this, it's good for that, yes.
Yeah, well, they have studies that supposedly show that.
I
right?
know.
Grapes are good for the heart. Oh, I say if grapes are good for the heart, drink some grape juice. It's very good for you.
Yes.
You know, so anyway, grape juice won't have the entity. Alcohol does. So it's up to you. So we have the drug entity, the alcohol entity, the nicotine entity.
Right.
And what's the other one?
The caffeine.
The caffeine. Right? You have those. And there are other things with entities out there that are non-beneficial for you. One is the sugar entity, by the way. That's a big one. You know?
Yes.
So when you and oh, by the way, and they're all addictive. Okay, they're all addictive, and that's not they're not very good for you because they're very addictive, so they're very hard to get rid of. You have one for food, and you have one. Another big one is the sex entity. All right, so all those become addictive for you. That's why you have to be careful with all of those things.
Okay.
Right? So now, sex is not a food, I don't think.
No, but we're talking about food in
Right,
this video,
so-
how foods affect us.
Right, so, I don't know. Oh, well,
And supplements.
they talk about how you have certain, so when people want to get, well, I want to get...
Aphrodisiacs you're
yeah,
talking
go, right,
about?
those type of things, right? Anyway, but we don't. We
Another
want to
topic.
avoid. Yeah, we want to avoid all those things because you know the potential that they have, right?
Right.
Now,
You don't
why
want
do
to be at a loss of your faculties, basically.
Well, I was about to go there, right? Why do you want to avoid those? Because the Ascended Masters tell us that we should always be in control of our thinking process, our thought process, our, like you said, our faculties. Now, why do you want to be in control of those? You think?
Because when we're not in control, that means something else can be influencing us, and we can be doing things that are non-beneficial for ourselves.
Exactly, right? If you're not in control, then something else is in control.
Yep.
Plain and simple. So you always want to be in control. For you to be in control, you have to be 100% aware. Well, the moment you imbibe alcohol, you start to lower your frequency, allowing something else to attach, which more than likely will be the alcohol entity. But once it attaches, now you're open to other things coming in. So all of a sudden, it's not just the alcohol entity, there are other things that can come in and attach because your frequency is much lower. Right? And the same thing goes for any of those things we talked about that you shouldn't consume. The same thing can go for the beef. Right? Because you consume that, if it's filled with fear from it being killed, then of course that lowers your frequency as well. And there's a chance that something can come and attach to you.
And we're not even talking about what they inject into the animals or how they preserve the meat to get it to the stores. This is just the emotions that are in the animal itself.
I wasn't even thinking about how they raise the meat or preserve. You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, this is just the emotions that the animal has, because the animals have emotions. If you hit an animal, it will yelp, right?
Yes, they'll cry.
Exactly. So here, chickens, same thing. You know, now, for a long time, I never ate any of those things. Then I started eating some of it after going on those appointments. But now I'm cutting back on that as well.
Yes.
However, as you know, you could talk about that. When I do decide to try some of that, what happens?
Headaches, stuffy nose, swollen joints, swollen belly, just foggy head, and all of a sudden he's not able to do the spiritual work. So he has to get to a point where he has to relax for a bit so he can focus to just clear himself and neutralize all these effects. That way he can get back into doing spiritual work and receiving the information he's supposed to receive.
Well, you're talking about the past as far as relaxing and all that. No, I don't need that. I just neutralize the sucker like right away.
But in the past, before you were able to do it that effectively, you had to go through that process. Now he's been doing it for so long, he's had so much practice with it, and he's gotten so good at it that he can do it a lot faster.
No, back then I wasn't neutralizing anything. I was just going through.
I know, but I'm talking about when you finally did start doing this work. It would take a while for it to take effect.
Would?
Yes.
Oh, I don't remember. Okay. If my wife says so, it's probably so, more than likely. I don't remember that part. But anyway, so yes, now, because I know I can neutralize it quickly, I'll just go and try something and then neutralize the sucker. So that's the fun part now. It's like, well, I know this might mess me up, but I'm just going to try a little bit, and then I try it and say, oh, my throat is closing up, and I say, okay, let me get rid of it.
Well, you've also had it where we've been given food and you just quickly neutralize it and then you eat it and you're fine because you're just trying it because someone gave it to us and we want
Right.
to make sure we're not offending anyone by not.
When I remember to
Partaking.
neutralize it.
Wait, yes. That's
But there
very
are many
true.
times I don't remember to neutralize it. I see you guys eating, so I just eat. I forget I'm supposed to neutralize. So that's the other part. You know?
Now, what about fruits and vegetables? Those are healthy for us, and we should be eating them, of course, because they're plants. But what about the chemicals that are sprayed on them? Do those also affect us?
Well, think about it.
I mean, I know they do have an effect on people, but a lot of people don't even know if they don't even feel any effect from it. But is it still affecting
they
them?
don't think they feel it,
Okay.
right? Too many times people rationalize how they're feeling. They're so used to having a certain condition that they don't think twice about it.
Okay.
You know, and that's why until they have a clearing done, and then they know what it's like for them to feel pretty much 100% of themselves, they have nothing to compare to. That's why you always tell them after their first clearing, I said, now remember what this felt like. Because this is your baseline. Whenever you don't feel like this any longer, is that what you tell them?
Pretty much,
Yeah,
yes.
making it up.
No, that's
What do
pretty
you
much
tell
what I
them?
tell them. I ask them how they felt once the clearing was done, and most people, there's a whole array of emotions that come out, but most everyone basically says they felt calm and peaceful, and they've slept really well, and like nothing bothered them. So I let them know that's how you should feel all the time. If you are not feeling that way, let us know immediately so you can be checked, because that means something is out of balance,
Right.
and we need to find out what it is.
Good, right? And so it's the same thing here with the foods. You know, if you remember, you started shopping at Whole Foods and buying only organic things
Right.
because you found out, oh, well, this has pesticides and it affects me, right, myself. And so you started doing that, and then what happened?
You were still having reactions
Right.
because we found out that even though it's labeled organic, they're still allowed to use up to 5% of whatever they want to, chemically alter the food, whether
Well,
it be a herbicide or something else.
But you're just talking too fast.
Oh,
Because
okay.
first, I was still having the reaction, so we
Right.
said, okay, there's something wrong, and I told you, this must not be organic. You told me, no, it has organic here.
Right.
And that's when we went to Whole Foods, remember? And we told the person, I'm still having a reaction. This is supposed to be organic. And that's when the person told us that they sprayed it with a sulfite to
Right.
preserve it.
Sulfites and sulfates.
So
yes.
when they grow it, it's 100% organic, but
Not
then
all
they
the time, they sometimes
no.
spray
Just
it.
saying, they're saying it's 100% organic,
Right.
but then to preserve it, they spray it. So even if it's 100% organic, by the time they put the sulfite on there, a lot of people like myself are allergic to sulfites, then it doesn't do you any good anyway.
Right.
Right? So these are the things that you should be aware of. Getting organic things, that's your choice, but I've learned now that it's not financially, how to put it,
Feasible?
no, not feasible. Somebody might
Beneficial?
be a multi-millionaire. So no, it's
Financially worth it?
right.
Okay.
Because there are other ways to take something and make sure that it is well prepared for you. Different ways to get rid of the pesticides. There you go. Something might be sprayed with pesticides, but different ways to get rid of pesticide out of that vegetable or fruit, without you spending all that money if you can't afford it. If you can afford it, great.
Right.
Or you learn how to neutralize what's there, and then you're fine
Yep.
as well.
Learn how to take care of it yourself.
That's correct. But they do affect your frequency. No question about it. And if you're on a spiritual journey, keep in mind again that you don't have to suddenly go on some kind of a diet. I know people that say, well, I have to be a vegetarian or a vegan person.
Right.
No.
And then they'll say, but I don't want to have to give up this because
No,
I really enjoy
it's
this.
not even that. It's not even that.
Okay.
A lot of people are given the impression that they have to just do a quick transition to being a vegetarian or a vegan if they want to have an effective spiritual journey.
Got it.
My experience is that from the Zen Masters, they made it very clear that it helps you, yes, but it's not, you don't have to do that, all right? You should never have to punish yourself to get somewhere. It shouldn't be that way. As Saint Domingue said once, he said it many times, but he said, life is not meant to be a struggle. If it is a struggle, it's because you're doing something wrong. Right? It's the same thing with a spiritual journey. It's not supposed to be a struggle. Right? Whatever you do, you're doing because your body's ready for it. You don't force yourself. All right? It will come. You don't stress yourself out. Well, how comes I haven't stopped drinking yet? I should have quit by now. No, that's not how it goes. You do the things that you're guided to do, and you'll see after a while, all of a sudden, like, oh, I'm not drinking anymore.
Or I'm not smoking anymore.
Exactly. Or I'm not obsessed about eating all the time anymore. Whatever it is, it will just come to an end. You just trust in your spirit guides and the Zen Masters working with you. But they're not going to go and infringe on your free will. All right? If you're not ready to give up meat, you shouldn't. All right? We can help you with that. And the time will come when you'll give it up. And if you don't give it up right now, it's not like your spirit guide or Jesus or Buddha or Krishna, whoever it is that you are close to, or like the higher being, whatever you call it, is going to say, well, she's eating meat, so I'm not going to be responsive to her at all. She asked for help, I'm not giving her any help because she's eating chicken. It doesn't work that way. Right? They're going to give you help anyway. Does that make sense?
Yes, makes sense.
Because they know that we're human beings and that's why we're here. Because we're not perfect yet. And they will help us get there. And the time will come when you're there. That's why if I want to eat a piece of chicken, I will eat a piece of chicken. Now I'll suffer the consequences, I know that, but then I'll just be like, well, was it worth it? I'll say yes or no, right? And if it's not worth it, I'll never do it again. But if it was worth it, next time I might still try a little piece. But I can still receive the information.
Right.
But I don't go and try to receive information right after I eat a piece of chicken.
No.
See, I know that will not be accurate. Make sense? So you have to be smart about that as well. So, I don't know if I answered your question.
I think so. I think we answered how it affects us on a spiritual level. The food, supplements, and all these different things. I believe we answered the question.
And again, it's not, you don't have to just drop everything and decide, oh, I'm going to go vegan now, or I'm going to be a vegetarian.
We're going to be gluten-free, sugar-free, dairy-free.
Well, here's the other thing. Also keep this in mind that just because you become a vegetarian or you're now vegan, whatever the term might be, that doesn't mean that now you've grown spiritually.
Right.
Okay, it doesn't guarantee that either because there are more important things to deal with besides a diet. All right? Lots of things. And that's why the diet is like the last thing you worry about. There are other things you have to deal with. But once you deal with those things, the diet is easy.
That comes. All right. Hopefully this video has helped you. Feel free to share it. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, 190 Vision. Our Facebook page is 190 Vision, Clearing, Healing, and Guidance, and Instagram is 190 Vision as well.